I'd like to call this meeting of the City of Elkhorn Architectural Review Board and City Planning Commission to order. It's Thursday, March 5th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag, republic, and one nation, God, indivisible, with justice.
Roll call, please.
Watke, Hunter, Stacko, Boardman,
Here.
Geestlin,
Here.
Meinel,
Here.
Schroeder.
Here. Next, we've got the meeting minutes of February 5th, 2026. Did everyone get a chance to review those?
Move they be approved as written.
Second. We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Our first item for the Planning Commission is Kelly Odling for Friends on the Square, 11 North Wisconsin LLC is the owner, and Abe and David Redford as the operators for 11 North Wisconsin. They're looking for a conditional use permit, a public hearing, and a recommendation. So we'll do the public hearing first. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Plan Commission of the City of Elkhorn on March 5th, 2026 at 6 p.m. or shortly thereafter, as the matter may be heard in council chambers, city administration offices, 311 Seymour Court, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, for the purpose of hearing all interested parties, their attorneys or agents with respect to the application submitted by Kelly Odling for a conditional use permit to allow for indoor recreation or entertainment on the second floor for a small event venue space with liquor sales located at 11 North Wisconsin Street. The property is more precisely identified by the following tax key, YOP 00159. And I think that's it. So we've got the public hearing open. Would anyone like to be heard? If you're an applicant, you'll get a chance to speak, after the public hearing. So asking again, anyone for the hear?
I can explain.
We'll give you a chance, Kelly,
Okay.
after the public hearing. So seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and move on. We might as well have you explain. Come on up and tell us what you're planning.
So I'm sure you all have seen that I sold the business to the Redford family, and what they would like to do in the meantime, a lot has happened. We purchased 11 North and 9 North Wisconsin Street from Tim Olston, and they would like to move Friends on the Square and the business down to that location.
Okay.
Pretty much all the same.
Okay.
Questions?
I know the notice said here you were for indoor recreation, entertainment, and liquor sales. This body does not really deal with liquor sales. That the licensing all goes through the city council.
Yeah, it's all been turned in. Yeah. I don't know why it's on there, but it's okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anyone?
I can
Allison?
just explain that a little bit further if you'd like.
Sure.
The conditional use permit is for indoor recreation and entertainment for the small venue space. So for anybody who's not familiar with Friends on the Square and their current operations, there's 2 levels to their current operations. So on the main level of Friends on the Square, you have a little coffee shop, pastries, and then I think like paninis and soups. And then there's like a little retail area where they sell different things. And then on the second level, there's a smaller event space that they've been using for baby showers, wedding showers, family gatherings, etc. It's not big enough for a wedding or anything like that, but she does have rented events up there. and she does have an active liquor license for it at her current location. But they're seeking to move it over to this new building that they just purchased. So Friends on the Square will still operate just as it does now. It will just be a new location. So still same coffee shop, retail on the bottom. Those are all permitted uses in our downtown district. But then the indoor recreation and entertainment, that's the definition per our ordinance, but that would be for that event space in the second level. And then our ordinance does also outline that in this zoning district, liquor sales are also only allowed with a conditional use permit. So there's kind of a land use element to it, as well as the actual liquor license itself. So all of the liquor licensing approvals would go through the council. And so if there was a motion to approve the land use element, I would add that there should certainly be a condition that the liquor license be approved by the city council in order for them to move forward with any liquor sales. But essentially, it is kind of just a move over of their current operations to a new building. And then maybe Kelly can touch on this a little bit more, but I believe it's still a little bit undecided or up in the air what they'll be doing with that old building then that Kelly still owns. And she may have some new business ideas in the works, but nothing has been presented. Just putting that out there.
I'm a little confused. So the new owners are gonna have the coffee shop at 11 North Wisconsin
And the.
and the event
Mhm.
space. Okay,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
completely new owners. You will not be managing that or doing whatever. Okay, because I think in the transfer of a business, a new application for liquor would have to come to the council.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
and they've turned that in.
Yeah, I believe the application has been
Okay.
submitted to the
Okay.
city clerk.
It's
Yeah,
actually issued to an address, not to a person.
right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah,
All right. Let me just, relay this so it's on the record. We got an email from Trent Eichman, the fire chief, just today. And I'll just read it quick here. It's the fire department has a couple of concerns regarding exits. We would also like to see architectural plans of the proposed space. It is too difficult to tell which means of egress are exterior and which are interior. We would also like to see clear drawings of the proposed spaces, planning to be used and what they'll be used for. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. So,
So the city inspector's on vacation, so we can't.
Um,
We have he wanted, and he asked us for that,
okay,
for an architectural.
did we provide that to them?
Yeah, he's not back till Monday, I guess.
the building inspector, so.
The building
Just to,
inspector.
yeah, just to reiterate and clarify, to get the ball rolling, Kelly did reach out to our city building inspector to start the process to apply for the building permits. With it being a commercial building, the owners are aware that they will need state approved plans, so she wanted to get this process started. And I believe Harold, our building inspector, did ask for the architectural plans, so that's what she's referring to. But I don't believe the fire department has seen those plans. But it would have to comply with all state code requirements, the renovations and everything.
Is the space about the same size? Or is it smaller, bigger?
I would say maybe a little smaller. It's longer and narrower. It's longer, but narrower.
I guess, Kelly, could you talk about the types of exits that are provided in the upper level and how somebody, using the event space would exit or where those exits would be located? Could you touch on that maybe a little bit?
So right at the front door are the stairs that go straight upstairs. And then there's a hall that goes to the back. And then there's outside stairs, pretty heavy metal ones that go out the side of the building.
So there's two means of ingress and egress
Yeah.
for that event space. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we know when fire chief's coming back?
Well, it's the building inspector.
Building inspector, I'm sorry. Building inspector, when is he coming
The
back?
9th, I understand.
The 9th?
This is from the fire chief,
Yeah,
his request.
I'm just thinking because obviously this is something that, I would imagine, spring's coming around the corner. We want to get this going, and,
It's been kind of a long process. We started January 5th.
Yeah.
We're finally here.
right, right.
And then remind me too, Kelly, there's an elevator, correct?
Correct. I was going to say that
Also
too.
an elevator in the
Right.
building.
But I don't know if fire, a quick evacuation, I would want to take that, but it's there. Which also makes it then ADA accessible.
Mr. Mayor, may I be heard?
yes, Elaine.
Thank you. I did receive a couple questions, as well as spoke with Allison today about the land use versus the licensing question. And I do agree with the statements that Allison made, that you have a land use decision in front of you here today, and would concur in recommending that if the Plan Commission is comfortable with the proposed land use, if there is a motion to approve it, that would include the condition as outlined by Allison, that to be included is to be fulfilled prior to issuance of the conditional use permit would be for the applicant to apply for and obtain a liquor license for the premises. I do think there are some legitimate licensing questions related to this premises versus the old premises, but that would be a council decision and its licensing committee to make those inquiries, and not necessarily the Plan Commission. That wouldn't be like a basis for which to either approve or deny the application by the Plan Commission.
Well, I think the fire chief is asking us, that he got concerns. And, I don't know if he talked to any of the
He's
Talk
never
to you.
reached out.
fire chief.
No.
No inspection.
No.
Um,
I mean, he should know because they've been doing 2 times a year inspections on all the downtown buildings. So he would have been through there twice last year with Rockwell Salon. Nothing's changed.
So can we even make a motion to approve anything on a land use if they still need to have this approved?
That's a question for Elaine. Do we need to satisfy the fire chief and the building inspector before we? I would think so. Vote on a conditional use?
Well, it depends on how significant your questions are. If you're able to formulate a specific condition that you would want them to comply with related to building inspection or fire inspection, then you could formulate that condition. If it's a code question, obviously they would need to comply, and usually one of the standard conditions is that they meet all of your requirements and satisfy building inspection and fire inspection. So sometimes that's just a condition. If you have significant concerns about the layout of the internal aspects of the building, that could be a reason to lay the item over to get that additional input.
There's also going to be an apartment on the second level.
No. We changed all that.
Huh?
That became too difficult. So no, it'll just be offices up there. What it was before.
Originally, there was a proposed residence. You can, proposed small apartment residence, you can kind of see it on the plans here. That is a permitted use. So if they did do an apartment upstairs, it would just be, through the building department. They would just obtain building permits, but if they would like to keep it as just office space, that's permitted as well. I will just note that the fire department and building inspector in the second phase of this will have to be heavily involved, because in order for them to gain occupancy to the building, an occupancy inspection will need to be done, which means both the building department will have to walk through and give their final approval on the renovations that had been completed with the building permits they obtained. And then the fire department will also have to walk the building and sign off on their final occupancy before they could ever open for business. So at that time, they would check all exits, they would check their exit lights, and smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, sprinkler system, if that's applicable, et cetera. So down the line, both departments will have to be heavily involved with the next phase of construction.
Allison, are those finer details usually worked out after approval of a conditional use permit?
Sometimes, yes. If there are architectural drawings that are prepared, I will include them in the packet. At the time the applicant applied, I don't believe the complete architectural drawings were finalized, so there's some more like hand-drawn plans in there. So I didn't have the exact architectural drawings at the time, but it depends.
The fire chief hasn't seen any architectural designs on either of them, right?
No. But there's not a significant amount of work being done to the building. And there's current businesses that operate out of this building. So I would assume that there is proper means of ingress and egress if there's an exit in the back and exit in the front. And there have been businesses that have been legally operating out of this building for the last several years. But the fire department would have to answer that.
Yeah, maybe not the volume, there might be more people that you need to get out of that building. Compared to what businesses now, if it's a wedding shower, it might be.
Yeah, absolutely. Valid.
Anyone else have anything to add?
No, I think it's certainly at plan commission's discretion whether they want to move this forward with some conditions in place or wait for more feedback from the fire department or building department about the architectural plans.
I think it's feasible to say, considering where we're at, if it was January, yeah, I can understand waiting to see what they think, but we're already in March. I think if we could put the conditions on for a motion to approve, it might force everybody to kind of get on this right away, so everybody can kind of move on with their business. It's just March, spring's here, but that's just my opinion.
With this business downtown, are there any parking requirements? I know we talk about parking on businesses.
They are exempt from all parking requirements with being in the Central Place Overlay District.
Good.
Yeah.
That makes it easier.
Yeah.
My question is, we're talking about putting a condition on having you obtain a liquor license. Knowing that this is a coffee business, a coffee shop, what if you didn't get a liquor license? Is the whole deal off? Or do you have to have a liquor license to do what you want to do?
So like when I got my liquor license for where we're at now, they asked that I just kept that license upstairs and then we added the outside, so then down the steps and out the door. They asked that the liquor never be in the bottom where it is what they would call like a family gathering area. And I agreed to that, and it would be exactly the same.
I guess I don't want to get in the weeds with the liquor license really, but I don't want to put a condition on there and a conditional use permit. And then it doesn't work out and then the whole, down the
Yeah,
road.
probably.
Yeah.
Jen and I have invested a lot of money right now in this downtown, and I'm willing to make there be foot traffic down there. And I want things to thrive. We're not thriving right now. And things gotta keep rolling. Like I said, I put in for this conditional use January 5th. And here we are, March 5th. And it's very, very slow going. It's very frustrating, because I don't feel like there's a lot of, like, keep going. Like, why didn't the fire chief reach out to me? Instead, I stand here today kind of like, oh, really? He could have reached out. He could have asked me a question. It's frustrating, but I'm determined.
Allison, don't you usually have the department heads? Like if there's any question, whether it be the fire chief or even in your department there for input, if they have any?
Yeah, I only actually sent this one to the building inspector. For some of the smaller reviews, I don't send them out to staff, so the fire department did not get this one.
Okay.
It was not until I think a complaint, or not a complaint, but a question was raised about it, that the fire department was contacted asking to provide feedback. And I guess I'll just reiterate that the whole conditional use permit tonight is for the second level. So Kelly and the new operators, they can move forward and get started on the lower level.
I think that was my question.
They can do their construction, they can move in, they can run their retail, they can open up their coffee shop. That's all permitted. It's only the second level that she's kind of held up on right now.
Okay, good. That answers my question.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't phrase it very well.
At this time, the only question on the second level is the question from the fire chief, right?
Well, the building inspector hasn't signed off either.
You haven't signed.
But the building inspector doesn't typically sign off. So
Okay.
permits aren't typically issued by the building inspector until after the conditional use permit has been approved. Because they're not gonna put the work in, apply for the permits and pay for the permits if they don't get their conditional use. So that's very uncommon to see them apply for permits prior to the conditional use approval.
The fire chief evidently hasn't seen any of the architectural plans either. Correct? Evidently.
No,
Okay.
because they were not sent. No, he did not receive them until a question was raised and then he was sent them this week. Yes.
But is there a business upstairs now? Is it?
It's currently empty. There was a lawyer, we're up there, a law office.
The Godfrey building, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Well, he's not gonna interfere with their downstairs plans, which is their majority of their business.
And right now, we
They-
just have in place to continue
They,
the
they
venue.
can continue to do that without this approval,
Uh,
right,
mhm.
Allison, right?
Yep. They
Well,
can.
then why don't we give the fire chief his rights to inspect on the upper level of that?
Would that be a condition upon the motion to approve then? When we talk about the land use?
Elaine, that'd be,
He already did.
No, they haven't scheduled anything or reached out in any way.
Could
No.
we, for
You-
approval contingent upon an okay or sign
Yes.
off by fire chief?
Yes, you could. You could add the conditions that it is approved, subject to review and inspection and compliance with any requirements of the fire chief or fire department. And secondly, you could condition it on the applying for and obtaining the liquor license.
Could we put a time limit that the chief has to do this within 30 days?
I wouldn't put that in the conditions, but certainly, that request could be communicated, informally to the chief.
Okay. They get the ball rolling, I'll move for approval contingent upon the fire chief's sign off of an okay for it.
And applying for and obtaining a liquor license for the event space.
Pardon?
I think we're just talking right now, right, about getting the conditional use permit?
Yeah, just the
What about
conditional
those?
use, no liquor.
Correct, yeah.
Right,
Yes.
so with a condition, so what Elena's saying is that two conditions should be added to your approval. Condition number one, that the fire department review the architectural plans, inspect if necessary, and sign off on all of the plans. And condition number two, be added that a liquor license be applied for and obtained for any liquor sales on the premises. Otherwise, if they don't get a liquor license, they will not be able to have any liquor on the property. So those two conditions should be added to the approval, along with any other conditions I had listed on my staff report.
Included in my motion.
So,
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of sending this on to council? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
Okay.
good luck with the minutes, Sherry.
Our next item is the ATC transmission line easement for North Lake Geneva Elkhorn Reconductor Project on South Lincoln Street. Who's got a grasp of this subject?
I am going to turn it over to either Elaine or Adam, please. Thank you.
I can take it if you want.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was hoping that Elaine was gonna jump in on this one, so go for it.
All right, okay. So this item is on your agenda because ATC has requested an expansion, a slight expansion of an easement that they already have along Lincoln Avenue. And in your packet was the easement description to orient you to what the additional area is that's needed. The reason that is on the Plan Commission's agenda, because ultimately the easement would be approved up for discussion and approval by the council. But the Plan Commission does have some authority via the Wisconsin statutes as well as your code of ordinances. And the reason is because this is a land interest. The easement is a modification of a land interest. Giving somebody the right to do something on property that is owned by the city. And the Plan Commission is supposed to consider it and make a report before final action is taken by the council. That's in accordance with section 1.042 sub 2 sub F sub 2 of your code of ordinances. So typically how we look at this is the Plan Commission looks at the interest, the land interest, and this is an alteration, and makes a determination of whether it is inconsistent, or if you want to look at it from a consistency standpoint, consistent with your plans. So the recommended motion, if you're so inclined, would be that the transfer of this land interest that would be an expansion of the easement is not inconsistent with city plans. It's a little backwards than how you think of things when you're making an affirmative recommendation, but that's the reason for it. I did have a question come up from Adam with a concern because there are plans for this particular thoroughfare through the city. And I know that there are concerns about the size of the infrastructure that's going to go in. I think that we can have some further conversation about that before council. This comes before council, but right now it's before the Plan Commission for that report, review and recommendation report.
Other than just what Elaine said, I mean, that was my question is, I mean, they're asking for the planning commission to verify that this complies with or is consistent with the land use for that area, the plan for that area, and obviously the plan for that area is to have 849 apartments potentially across the street, as well as, commercial, and there's been a lot of talk about this being a new gateway into the city. And with the city updating the comp plan coming forward, is this going to have a, kind of a, not a reimagining per se, but, the intent is that this would be potentially a, more, residential slash commercial area and with these large power lines now going in, is that really consistent or not? And it's tough because obviously we do have a substation there. So, that complicates things. And as Lane said, they do already have easements largely in this area. So they're seeking relatively minor expansions of those easements. So from that perspective, I think it would be a different argument, or might be a different argument if this was an entirely new power line but when it's an existing one. But it is going to be a change. I don't know if you probably have already seen some of, you've seen some of them already. They're quite substantial. I mean, you're replacing, sort of wooden, tall wooden, relatively slender poles with large industrials. I'm guessing steel. I don't know what they're made out of, but poles. So it is going to definitely change the outlook of that area from the substation down south. So
Right.
I
So
guess, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if the Plan Commission has significant concerns about that, certainly that could be a part of any motion to request that the council address that with ATC before final consideration. But go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say, why do they need to go wider? Once the poles are in, they're in, so why would they need more land?
I'm not an expert in that, so I guess I would defer to Matt.
I guess I would just say that from what I recall at our last staffing meeting, BZ was present from our electric department, and that we were talking about the easement in general, and he did mention the size of them, how they're bigger than what they are. So there's certain offsets from the lines that they would like to have in their easement. So I'm sure I'm sure the offsets are probably to make sure it's like a safe zone away from the power lines. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? Where
Yes,
they're larger, that they would require a little bit more land. I mean, again, that's just what I kind of recall from here with BZ. Does that kind of your recollection too?
that's exactly what he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the question I have, what happens with the land and the easement that we have now if they go north of the substation?
I don't know that the easement exists north of the substation. I don't believe that it does.
But if we were to replace those poles?
So the poles that are north of the substation, those would all be city Elkhorn poles to mine. It's just ATCs coming into the substation from the south that are ATCs, and I think everything else is ours. Would you say that that's fair?
Yeah. Yes.
Again, I guess the question is how much land do they need if they're only gonna be there once, I don't know, a problem?
As Matt said, the issue is the amount of clearance they want a certain amount of clearance from the power line. So that's really what it is.
I don't know how often they'll be working on it, but I think it's just again to maintain to give them some latitude for when they do have to be there working on them. I don't. That's all I really have.
Right.
Has anyone asked ATC what the alternative would be if we didn't want these huge metal poles? Is there an alternative? Yeah, isn't it kind of dumb?
I think everybody was surprised when they have.
They were, I know BZ, our electric superintendent, was surprised. So it sounds like they changed what they originally were going to be doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I know Adam had emailed me yesterday and we haven't had an opportunity to connect with the primary contact about it. So we would certainly intend to ask some additional questions.
And I guess one question that just pops to my mind is I don't know what kind of flexibility, and this goes to what the mayor just asked, can we talk to ATC about, can they use, smaller poles at least for the first segment or two, or I don't know what kind of latitude they have on that, but something we could ask.
Right. Yeah, I think we certainly could make those inquiries and see. We have been able to negotiate some changes that benefit the city in this easement document, so that is helpful from the standpoint of the city's interest. But I do think we can make some additional or conduct some additional follow-up questions with them. So
And just one change that in particular I wanted to highlight is that you can see one of the longest slivers is actually right on the north side of right next to Deer Road, right on the corner there. So one of our concerns was that, when talking about Creekside and then potential expansion west of Deer Road, would they need to expand the road? So we had it written into the easement that they, if we expand the road, they may have to move a pole. So, yeah, so.
right.
Well, does it make sense to kick this to council while some of these questions are being answered and let the council?
Basically, easement just grants them the right that they can come in and repair what's necessary whenever they have to, without asking permission. Basically, that's all an easement is, correct?
Right, it's to use that area and to have access to it, yes.
What is your recommendation, Elaine?
Well, I mean, it's been out there for a little while, so ATC's been really waiting for this. It's not a significant land interest. It's a slight expansion of the use that they've got, and as Matt indicated, they already have an easement there, so we're not we're not going to change the fact that they're there, but I think we can have some follow-up conversations before council acts ultimately on the easement. So I think it seems ripe to move it to council for final review and action, and we can ask these questions of ATC based on the information that you guys learned at that last meeting that Matt just described.
Just open it. So then, I make a motion to move it on to council. Second, to keep it rolling.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do we have any general discussion items?
There's just one item. I briefly want to go over the comprehensive plan proposals we received. So this did go on Monday night to committee of the whole for discussion and action. But I believe the submittals were all sent to you as well, just so that you could review and kind of see what the city received. So we put out an RFP for our comprehensive plan update. And in total, we received 9 proposals. So you all had some great reading material. So they were, we were really surprised by the amount of proposals we received. It was pretty tricky to go through all of them as staff. Adam, Matt, and I met and we went through each proposal and scored them. And out of the 9, we had a top 4. And so those top 4 kind of in our opinion, in our eyes, after we scored the proposals was Houseo Levine, Chastain, Vanderwall and Associates, and Tesca. So we brought this to committee of the whole on Monday evening and just made them aware of, what we felt our top four was, and we were seeking guidance on how to move forward. And the motion at Monday night's meeting was for staff to move forward and interview the top four, and then bring back the top two to committee of the whole. So Matt has been working hard to get all those interviews scheduled, and they're all on the books. So Matt, Adam, and I will be interviewing the top four early next week, I believe on Monday and Tuesday. But we wanted you to have an opportunity to review the proposals, and if you had any questions or concerns or wanted further insight on how we kind of came to our decision, I just wanted to open up that discussion because after a firm is chosen, the Plan Commission will have a pretty active role in the comprehensive plan update. So we'll be working closely with them, and they'll be helping schedule several different meetings, including Plan Commission and public outreach and that sort of thing to get our plan updated and adopted.
Yeah, and as Allison said, with the 9 proposals, they were lengthy, so, we understand if you didn't have a chance to read every single. It took at least a week of dedicated, it took a lot longer reviewing them. I think we anticipated. We also learned that Matt is a much tougher scorer and grader than the rest of us, so discovered that. But just one thing, just wanted to sort of give you, as Allison said, you guys are going to be very involved in this. When we put out the RFP, we specified that there's not going to be a separate steering committee. So the planning commission is going to be the primary, kind of point of contact for this process. Secondly, and we really would like some feedback on this. And I know that the committee of the whole provided some perspective, but and the top 4 that we, chose or selected, 2 of them would be, new firms that we don't really have any experience with, but who have done some really kind of, I don't want to say cutting edge, but have really sort of more dynamic comp plans. And then there's 2 from, one being from Tesca, who's our current, who's been the current planner for a long time. They did our current comp plan as well as the comp plan prior to that. And so one question we would have for you is, what's your perspective on, trying somebody new, or do you, how do you feel about either sticking with Tesco or trying one of the 3 new firms? That's kind of one of the big questions we had. And if you just have any general feedback about the top 4, I think Vanderwall is more familiar to us in terms of they're pretty popular in the area. We did have some concerns about how usable their plans are in terms of they just are a lot of text. So, as Allison and Matt scrolled through them, it's just pages and pages of text. So we have some concerns about how helpful that would be when you're trying to actually use it as a planning tool. So anyway, those are just some quick thoughts, but I don't know what your thoughts are about,
William has scored highest, does he set the tops?
that's a good question.
Honestly, I'd have to go back and look. The top 4 seemed to, stand out. I mean, it was close, but they definitely stood out and were close together in my rankings.
That was a very non-answer answer there, Matt, but.
I think we all scored Houseo Levine as our top score. I want to say that was the highest overall. I know it had the highest average of our scores. And they're a new firm and they're based out of Illinois. And so we didn't have a lot of feedback. We've never worked with them before. And we've also never worked with Chastain. Chastain is also another firm out of Illinois. And so right away, they both put together really great proposals, but some immediate concerns were that, well, they're from far away. They're from another state. They don't have a whole lot. Chastain especially doesn't have a whole lot of experience in the state of Wisconsin. So I did do reference checks on both of the newer firms that we've never worked with before. And Houseo Levine has worked on some bigger projects. They seem to work in bigger cities. So They did a comp plan update for the city of Wauwatosa. They worked in the city of Green Bay and also in the city of Oshkosh. So I did reference check all three. The city of Wauwatosa got back to me and they had raving reviews about their firm. They said that they were great to work with. They stayed on time, on budget, on task. They really took the lead with things. Their public outreach was great. And kind of did develop this cutting edge, user friendly document that is really easy to read and follow. So that's great. Mixed reviews with the city of Oshkosh. They told me that overall they could say they were happy with them, but the planner I spoke with said that he could not legally disclose any other information to me. So, I mean, whenever you hear that, that's slightly concerning because you're like wondering what's going on. But he said overall we were happy with them, and I guess that's all I can say. So not totally sure what that means. And then the other reference check did not get back to me. Chastain, I also reference checked a few of their communities, and each community got back to me. They're a firm that has limited experience in Wisconsin. However, it sounds like every single person they've ever worked with is mentioned that they're outstanding, phenomenal service. They're fast, they're efficient, they stay on budget. If they have more in-depth questions, they'll reach out and network with other people. They've worked with universities and that sort of thing. They have worked on comprehensive plan updates, and the individuals that are listed in their proposal as our main points of contact were also the municipalities that I reached out to main point of contact. And they specifically had raving reviews about that individual and how good she was to work with. And that public outreach went really well. And they, again, produced a very easy to read, good document. So those were all really promising reviews. And then as Adam stated, you know, we've worked with Tesca before. We've historically worked with them for many years. We've seen what they've done. They've done our current comp plan. And then Vanderwall has done other projects for us. They recently worked with the library?
Rec department.
Rec department, thank you. The rec department on their plan, and they've helped us. They were the firm that helped us develop our official map when we were working on that. So they're a familiar firm. They're in the area. They work in a lot of municipalities in Walworth County, but I think some of the feedback we received from committee of the whole was that, you know, maybe a fresh face wouldn't be so bad for the city. So.
Yeah, I think that was one thing that we've worked with Tesla and they've been good. But maybe a different perspective of how the city should grow, you know, might be a good idea. That was what I gathered from committee as a whole, right? Tim?
Yep.
You know, I mean, we didn't make a choice, but we're looking at something maybe that might bring something that we wouldn't see if we stuck with one of the other, you know, chose one of it. I think that's fair, right?
That's why I was wondering, how did the three of you come up with the top four? I mean, is that
How many was there
Test-
originally?
13.
There's a total of 9, and
Nine.
we have an internal scoring sheet that we use to evaluate the proposals. Talks about schedule. Cost is a minor component to that. It's mostly quality-based selection. So we just follow the internal document that we have, and that's how we came up with scorings. It
Yeah.
has a couple different sections in it.
Yeah, we came up prior to even setting them out. We put together a scoring metrics and we looked at the experience of the firm as a whole, but also the experience of the actual team. So we looked really carefully at each individual member who'd be assigned to work with us. What's their experience been with comp plans? As Matt said, we looked at pricing was one. And we also had some additional scores about their knowledge about Elkhorn, as well as how well we thought they could help the city develop visions for downtown, South Lincoln Street, and then Deer Road, the DeBach, area. So that was, another scoring criteria. So, and then we just averaged them across. And I actually was surprised, given that we actually ended up as relatively similar as we did. I mean, there was some variation, but we were pretty
Yeah,
close overall.
we ranked them individually. We did have a meeting, as Alice mentioned, to discuss our scorings. But really, we didn't really, walking into the meeting, we didn't know I didn't know who's the average top four were gonna be, but they all kind of aligned.
Yeah,
And then lastly, as Matt, I think as Allison said too, we looked at their, the comp plans that they prepared for other communities, just to see what they look like in terms of, just to see what kind of finished product would be, so. I guess in terms of openness to trying somebody new, is there any feedback on that or?
Yeah, I think change is not always good, but change is good. So, yeah, different eyes, different perspective. Absolutely.
And we haven't interviewed him, obviously we still have to interview the final four, but that feedback for us is helpful, so. And obviously the council is gonna have to interview the top final two, so.
yeah, so, we'll just, at every plan commission meeting, I'll probably just give a general update on kind of where we're at in this process. The next step in the process would be for next week, staff to interview the top four. Pick the top two, bring them back to committee of the whole and council for a final interview. And then I believe council would make the decision on the final pick. Is that correct, Adam? Okay, so, we would just, keep you updated along the way. At our next meetings, coming up, we can just provide you with another update of where we're at.
Yeah, just one additional thing too, that I just remember too, one of our big scores too had to do with how well and efficient they'd be able to, solicit feedback from the public. And one of the big things for us was some of the firms offered to create city-specific websites for the comp plan that they could communicate information and others didn't. So that for us was a big criteria. So I think every firm that is in the top four, I think, was going to have a dedicated website for the city, I recall.
Cycle two.
Yeah. Mhm.
So.
Thank you. Okay, no action needs to be made on that, or?
No, we didn't want to start moving forward
Okay.
without feedback from you guys, so.
Okay. We've got a couple meetings coming up, March 19th and April 2nd. I'd like to add that I believe Tom is out after surgery and I'll be out after surgery next week. So for the other commissioners, we need 4 people for a quorum. So I'd ask you to, try to be here if at all possible. And if you can't, communicate that. So the last thing we want to do is have applicants show up and there's 3 of us here.
I think the April 2nd meeting is, I mean, it's not super near, but it's like near Easter. Is there anyone right away that has any concern about that? No? Okay.
But both are going to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Any?
Did you fly you are?
No, I'll be back. All right. Motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.